Chapter 1. The Platinum Card. The March breeze swept through Battery Park in downtown Manhattan, carrying the first hints of spring. Lily Morgan adjusted her worn-out denim jacket as she arranged the tulips in her mobile flower cart. At 28, she had been selling flowers in this corner of the park for almost 5 years, saving every penny to someday open her own shop. The early morning crowd bustled past, Wall Street types with coffee cups clutched firmly in one hand and phones in the other, barely noticing the vibrant blooms that Lily had carefully selected from the flower market at 4 a.m. "Good morning. Would you like some tulips today?" "Just arrived this morning," Lily called out to a passing businesswoman who paused momentarily, shook her head, and continued walking. It was always the same, people appreciating beauty but never finding time to bring it into their lives. As the noon sun climbed higher, Lily decided to take her lunch break. She pushed her cart toward her favorite spot, a quiet bench near the harbor where she could watch the boats and dream about possibilities beyond her current reality. She unwrapped her simple sandwich when a glint of something caught her eye among the newly planted flowers in the park's central garden. Curious, Lily approached and knelt down. Between the purple crocuses was a sleek black credit card. She picked it up carefully, a platinum American Express with the name Alexander Hayes embossed in raised lettering. Lily immediately recognized the exclusive card that only the wealthiest carried. She slipped it into her pocket and continued eating her lunch, contemplating what to do. The right thing would be to return it, of course. Lily had been raised by her grandmother in a small Vermont town with strong values about honesty. Despite struggling to make ends meet in the expensive city, those principles remained her compass. After finishing her lunch, she decided to visit the nearest bank. The sleek glass doors of Atlantic Financial opened to a world Lily rarely entered. The marble floors and hushed conversations were a stark contrast to her usual surroundings. "Excuse me," she said softly to a security guard. "I found someone's credit card in Battery Park. I'd like to return it." The guard directed her to a customer service representative who examined the card and raised his eyebrows. "This belongs to Alexander Hayes," he said, looking at Lily with newfound interest. "He's one of our most valued clients." "Could you please return it to him?" Lily asked, already turning to leave. "Wait," the representative said, picking up his phone. "Mr. Hayes has a standing instruction to be notified immediately if his cards are ever reported lost or found. I need to call him." Before Lily could protest, the representative was speaking into the phone, explaining the situation. After a brief conversation, he hung up and looked at Lily with a smile. "Mr. Hayes would like your contact information. He insists on thanking you personally." Lily hesitated. "That's really not necessary. I just did what anyone would do." "Ms. Morgan," the representative said, glancing at the ID Lily had shown him earlier, "if I may say so, not everyone would return a platinum card without using it. Mr. Hayes appreciates integrity, and he's rather persistent." After some gentle pressure, Lily reluctantly wrote down her cell phone number and the address of her flower cart. She returned to Battery Park, convinced that would be the end of it. Perhaps she'd receive a generic thank you note or a small gift basket, corporate gestures that required minimal personal effort. 3 days later, Lily was arranging her daisies when a sleek black town car pulled up nearby. The driver, in a crisp uniform, approached her with an enormous bouquet of exotic flowers, arranged more beautifully than anything Lily had ever created. "Ms. Morgan?" the driver asked, and when Lily nodded, he handed her the elaborate arrangement along with a cream-colored envelope. "Compliments of Mr. Hayes." Inside the envelope was a handwritten note on heavy cardstock. "Ms. Morgan, your honesty is refreshing. In a city where such virtues are increasingly rare, I would be honored if you would join me for dinner tomorrow evening at Luminescence. My driver will collect you at 7 p.m. I understand you might hesitate, but please allow me this small gesture. Curve gratitude, sincerely, Alexander Hayes." Lily stared at the note, then at the bouquet. Luminescence was one of the most exclusive restaurants in Manhattan, a place she had walked past often, glancing through its windows at a world that seemed as distant as another planet. Her first instinct was to refuse. What would she wear? What would they talk about? The whole scenario seemed absurd. That evening, she called her best friend, Zoe, who worked as a barista while pursuing her acting dreams. "Are you kidding me?" Zoe exclaimed after. Lily recounted the day's events. "You have to go. This is like something out of a movie." "It's ridiculous," Lily said, pacing around her tiny studio apartment in Brooklyn. "I have nothing to wear to a place like that. And what would I even talk about with a billionaire hotel mogul?" "Wait, billionaire hotel mogul," Zoe interrupted. "You didn't mention that part. Did you Google him?" "Maybe," Lily admitted, glancing at her laptop where Alexander Hayes' Wikipedia page was still open. The man owned Hayes Grand Hotels, a collection of luxury properties around the world. His estimated net worth made Lily's annual income look like pocket change. "Lily Morgan," Zoe said firmly, "you work harder than anyone I know. You're up before dawn every day, you stand in the cold selling flowers to ungrateful people, and you never complain. You deserve one night of luxury, even if it's just a thank you dinner." After an hour of Zoe's insistence, Lily finally agreed. The next day, Zoe arrived with a borrowed cocktail dress from a costume designer friend, a simple but elegant navy blue number that fit Lily surprisingly well. At 7 p.m. sharp, the same black town car pulled up outside Lily's apartment building. As she stepped into the back seat, her heart raced with a mixture of anxiety and an unexpected feeling she couldn't quite name. Perhaps it was simply the novelty of stepping, even temporarily, into a completely different world. What she didn't know was that this dinner would be the first step into a new life, one that would challenge everything she thought she knew about wealth, class divisions, and her own capabilities. The car merged into Manhattan traffic, carrying her toward a meeting that would set in motion changes she could never have anticipated when she picked up that platinum card among the spring flowers. Chapter 2: Luminescence. Luminescence lived up to its name. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the restaurant's interior, reflecting off polished marble and the cut-glass stemware that adorned each table. Lily followed the maitre d' through the dining room, acutely aware of her borrowed dress and the curious glances from other patrons. At a corner table with a panoramic view of the Manhattan skyline sat a man who could only be Alexander Hayes. He stood as she approached, tall with salt and pepper hair and warm brown eyes that crinkled slightly at the corners when he smiled. Around 50, he carried himself with the easy confidence of someone accustomed to power, but without the arrogance Lily had expected. "Ms. Morgan," he said, extending his hand, "I'm Alex Hayes. Thank you for coming." "Thank you for the invitation," Lily replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "Though it's really unnecessary, anyone would have returned your card." Alex smiled as they both sat down. "I've lost things of far less value that were never returned. Your honesty is worth acknowledging." A waiter appeared instantly, pouring water and offering wine. Lily hesitated, unfamiliar with the extensive wine list, and Alex gently suggested a Chardonnay that turned out to be perfect. "So," he said after they ordered their meals, "tell me about your flower business." Lily relaxed slightly as she described her daily routine, the pre-dawn trips to the flower market, the seasonal blooms she carefully selected, her regular customers who relied on her for special occasions. To her surprise, Alex listened intently, asking thoughtful questions that revealed an unexpected knowledge of horticulture. "My grandfather was a landscaper in Connecticut," he explained, noticing her surprise. "I spent summers working with him as a teenager. It was honest work. You could see the results of your labor. I've always appreciated that." As the evening progressed, Lily found herself sharing more than she had intended. She told him about growing up in Vermont with her grandmother after her parents were involved in an accident when she was 8, about her dream to open a flower shop that would also host workshops for underprivileged children, teaching them about nature and botanical art. "Why flowers?" Alex asked, genuinely curious. Lily considered the question, taking a sip of her wine. "They're temporary," she finally said. "That's their beauty. They remind us to appreciate what's in front of us right now because it won't last forever. But they also come back season after season. There's something hopeful in that cycle." Alex nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful. I've never considered flowers that way, he admitted. In our hotels, they're just part of the decor, necessary but interchangeable. They shouldn't be, Lily said with unexpected passion, forgetting momentarily who she was speaking to. Each arrangement should tell a story, reflect the season, the location, the specific occasion. Alex leaned forward, intrigued. What kind of arrangement would you create for the Hayes Grand on Fifth Avenue? Without hesitation, Lily described a dramatic seasonal display featuring native New York State botanicals mixed with cultivated blooms, changing monthly to reflect the city's rhythm and energy. She sketched it on a napkin, her earlier nervousness forgotten as she immersed herself in creative possibilities. This is exactly what we need, Alex said, studying her sketch. Our current floral contractor provides adequate but uninspired arrangements. Would you consider creating displays for our main Manhattan property as a trial? Lily nearly choked on her water. Me, I don't have a shop or staff, I'm just one person with a cart. Start small, Alex suggested. One arrangement for the main lobby. If it works out, we can discuss expanding. By dessert, they had negotiated a trial arrangement. Lily would create a signature display for the Hayes Grand Lobby, with materials provided by the hotel. If management approved, they would discuss a more permanent arrangement. As dinner concluded, Lily expected a polite goodbye and perhaps a handshake. Instead, Alex suggested a walk along the waterfront promenade. The early spring evening was chilly but clear, the city lights reflecting in the Hudson River. I should tell you something, Alex said as they walked. Finding my credit card wasn't entirely coincidental. Lily stopped, suddenly wary. What do you mean? I saw you in Battery Park last month, he explained. You were helping an elderly woman select flowers for her husband's birthday. The care you took, the stories you shared about each flower's meaning, it was remarkable. I've passed your cart several times since then. You dropped your card deliberately? Lily asked, incredulous. Alex laughed, shaking his head. No, that was genuine carelessness. But when the bank called to say someone had turned it in, I already knew who you were. Lily didn't know whether to be flattered or concerned. That's a bit unusual. I apologize if it seems strange, Alex said sincerely. I'm not accustomed to normal interactions. Most people want something from me. Your kindness to that woman seemed authentic in a way I rarely encounter. As they continued walking, Alex shared more about himself, how he had expanded his grandfather's modest hotel into an international brand, his divorce 10 years earlier, his passion for historic building preservation. He spoke without pretension, and Lily found herself warming to him despite their obvious differences. When they reached Battery Park, they paused near Lily's usual spot, now empty in the evening darkness. I've enjoyed tonight more than any dinner in recent memory, Alex said, his voice soft in the quiet park. Thank you for your company, Ms. Morgan. Lily, she corrected him, and thank you for everything. The town car appeared to take Lily home, and Alex walked her to it. I'll have someone contact you tomorrow about the hotel arrangement, he said, opening the door for her. As the car pulled away, Lily found herself experiencing a strange mixture of emotions. The evening had been surreal, yet somehow comfortable. Alex Hayes was nothing like she had imagined, neither the arrogant billionaire nor the charming seducer she had half feared. Instead, he was thoughtful, intelligent, and carried a subtle loneliness she recognized from her own life. Back in her apartment, Lily kicked off her borrowed heels and sat by her window, looking out at the Brooklyn skyline. The evening felt like a strange dream, but the business card in her purse with Alex's personal number written on the back was very real. The next morning, Lily woke to a text message from an unknown number. The Hayes Grand Purchasing Department will contact you today. Looking forward to seeing your creation. A.H. By afternoon, Lily had signed a contract to create a floral installation for the hotel lobby with a generous budget for materials. 3 days later, she arrived at the service entrance of the Hayes Grand, pushing a cart filled with carefully selected blooms, ranunculus, anemones, local ferns, and flowering branches from upstate orchards. As she arranged them in the massive crystal vase provided by the hotel, Lily had no idea that her life had already begun its irreversible transformation. The simple act of returning a platinum card had set her on a path that would challenge everything she believed about herself and the boundaries between worlds she had always thought impermeable. Focused on her work, she didn't notice Alex Hayes, watching her from the mezzanine above, a thoughtful expression on his face as he observed her arranging each stem with precision and care that transformed mere flowers into living art. Chapter 3. Bloom and Growth. Spring gave way to summer, and what had begun as a one-time floral installation evolved into a permanent position. Lily's creations for the Hayes Grand Lobby garnered immediate attention. Hotel guests frequently photographed her arrangements, and several luxury magazines had featured them in articles about contemporary hotel design. Alex had offered her a dedicated workspace in the hotel's service area, a light-filled room that was previously used for storage. "You need to order more Eastern white pine for next week," Lily instructed her new assistant Miguel, a horticulture student who worked with her part-time, "and check if those specialty dahlias will be available from the Hudson Valley farm." "Already confirmed, boss," Miguel replied, updating the inventory spreadsheet on his tablet. "And that new Japanese supplier agreed to send us samples of the Ikebana containers you were interested in." Lily smiled, still adjusting to having an assistant. Her operation had expanded from the Hayes Grand Lobby to all public spaces in the hotel, plus special events and VIP room amenities. She had released her park permit and fully embraced her new role, though she insisted on maintaining creative control over every arrangement. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Alex stood in the doorway, casually dressed in a light blue button-down and khakis, more relaxed than his usual business attire. "Is this a bad time?" he asked. "Not at all," Lily replied, wiping her hands on her apron. Miguel discreetly excused himself, leaving them alone. Over the past 3 months, Alex had made a habit of visiting Lily's workspace at least weekly. Their conversations ranged from business discussions to personal stories, developing into a friendship that puzzled the hotel staff. To Lily's surprise, she had grown comfortable in his presence, though she maintained a careful professional boundary. "The orchid installation for the mezzanine looks spectacular," Alex said, examining the sketch pinned to Lily's inspiration board. The reviews from the Botanical Society event were glowing. "The space deserved something special," Lily replied, pouring them both cups of tea from her electric kettle, another routine they had established. Alex accepted the tea and settled into what had become his chair in the corner of her workspace. "I have a proposition for you," he said. "The Hayes Foundation hosts an annual fundraiser at our Hamptons property next month. It benefits inner-city arts education programs. I'd like you to handle all the floral design." Lily hesitated. "That's a major event, much larger scale than what I've been doing here. You'd have a full team and whatever budget you need," Alex assured her. "I've seen your work evolve over these months. You're ready for this." His confidence in her abilities both flattered and terrified Lily. The fundraiser would put her work in front of the city's elite, museum directors, philanthropists, cultural influencers. "This could be a stepping stone," Alex continued, sensing her hesitation. "If you ever want to open that shop and community space you've talked about." Lily looked up sharply. She had mentioned her dream to Alex during their first dinner, but hadn't realized he remembered the details. "I've always taken the safer path," she admitted. "Selling in the park was predictable, limited, but secure. And now? Now I'm terrified. Daily," she laughed. "But in a good way. I never thought I could do any of this." Alex's expression softened. Fear and growth go hand in hand. "I was terrified when I expanded beyond my grandfather's single hotel, but that fear pushed me to work harder, learn faster." Their conversation was interrupted by Alex's assistant, Caroline, who appeared at the door with an urgent expression. "Mr. Hayes, your sister has arrived unannounced. She's waiting in your office." Alex's face tightened momentarily. "Thank you, Caroline. Tell her I'll be right up." After his assistant left, he turned to Lily with an apologetic smile. "Duty calls. Think about the fundraiser." I'll do it, Lily decided suddenly. You're right, I need to keep challenging myself. Alex's genuine smile warmed his entire face. Perfect, I'll have the event team contact you. He hesitated at the door. Would you join me for dinner again sometime, not to discuss business? The invitation hung in the air between them. Lily felt her pulse quicken. Their professional relationship had developed into friendship. But anything beyond that seemed complicated for countless reasons. I'd like that, she heard herself say, surprising them both. After Alex left, Lily immersed herself in work, trying not to overthink their exchange. She was sketching concepts for the fundraiser when a striking woman in her 40s appeared at the doorway. Impeccably dressed in a designer suit, she carried herself with the same confidence as Alex, though with a sharper edge. So this is where my brother spends his afternoons, the woman said, her gaze sweeping critically around the workspace. Lily stood, extending her hand. You must be Victoria Hayes. I'm Lily Morgan, the hotel's floral designer. Victoria barely touched Lily's hand before releasing it. Yes, I know who you are. Alex mentioned you in passing. Quite a leap from selling flowers in a park to designing for a 5-star hotel. The condescension in her tone was unmistakable, but Lily maintained her composure. It's been an unexpected opportunity. Your brother has been very supportive of my work. Victoria picked up one of Lily's sketches, examining it with a critical eye. I'm sure he has. Alex has always had a soft spot for projects. She set down the sketch. A word of advice? Don't mistake professional interest for something more. My brother has a history of becoming enthusiastic about new talent, then moving on when something more interesting comes along. Before Lily could respond, Victoria continued. Nothing personal, it's just business. Hayes Grand has a reputation to maintain. Temporary collaborations are one thing, but permanent associations require a certain compatibility. The implication was clear. Victoria viewed Lily as a passing amusement for her brother, one that needed to be contained before it became problematic. I appreciate your concern, Lily replied coolly, but my arrangement with Hayes Grand is strictly professional. The quality of my work speaks for itself. Victoria smiled thinly. Of course, I should get back to Alex. Nice meeting you, Miss Morgan. After Victoria left, Lily sat heavily in her chair, her earlier confidence shaken. Was Victoria right? Was she just another of Alex's projects, something to be nurtured briefly before he lost interest? And the dinner invitation, was it merely friendly or something more? These questions lingered as Lily threw herself into preparations for the Hamptons fundraiser. She worked longer hours, determined to prove herself worthy of the opportunity, regardless of Victoria's insinuations. 2 weeks before the event, Lily's grandmother called with distressing news. The Vermont farmhouse where Lily had grown up needed major structural repairs after a severe storm. The estimates were far beyond what her grandmother's fixed income could cover. Don't worry about it, sweetie, her grandmother assured her. I'll figure something out. Maybe sell some of the antiques. Lily's stomach knotted at the thought of her grandmother selling family heirlooms. Let me see what I can do, she promised. Don't sell anything yet. That evening, she calculated her savings and the expected payment from the fundraiser. It wouldn't be enough. She could take out a loan, but with her limited credit history, the interest would be crippling. As she worked late in her hotel workspace, Alex stopped by unexpectedly. He immediately noticed her distracted state. What's wrong? He asked after she'd explained the situation. I'll figure it out, Lily insisted. I just need to focus on making the fundraiser perfect. The exposure might lead to more high-paying clients. Alex hesitated, then said carefully, I could help. A short-term, loan with no interest. No, Lily replied immediately. I can't accept that. Why not? It would be a simple business transaction. It wouldn't feel that way to me, Lily admitted. I've worked so hard to stand on my own. Taking money from you would complicate things. Alex studied her face. Is this about what Victoria said to you? Lily looked up, startled. You know about that. Caroline overheard and told me. Alex sighed. I apologize for my sister. She's protective to a fault and has very rigid ideas about appropriate connections. The word hung between them, acknowledging what both had been carefully avoiding. There was something growing between them beyond professional admiration or casual friendship, something neither had directly addressed. "Your grandmother raised you," Alex said softly. "Let someone help you help her. It doesn't diminish your independence." Lily remained conflicted. Alex's offer was generous, but Victoria's warning echoed in her mind. She needed to maintain her professional reputation and her emotional boundaries. "Let me think about it," she finally said. Alex nodded, respecting her hesitation. "Take all the time you need. The offer stands." He turned to leave, then added, "For what it's worth, you've never been a project to me, Lily. You're one of the most genuine people I've ever met." After he left, Lily stayed late into the night, working on designs and trying to untangle her thoughts. The workspace that had become her sanctuary now felt complicated, laden with unspoken emotions and competing priorities. What had begun as a simple act of honesty, returning a found credit card, had evolved into something far more complex. Lily had gained professional opportunities beyond her imagination, but now faced challenges equally unexpected: financial pressures, social class, dynamics, and most confusingly, feelings for a man whose world couldn't be more different from her own. As she finally gathered her things to leave, Lily paused at the window overlooking Manhattan's glittering skyline. 3 months ago, she had been a small-scale flower vendor, content with her limited but predictable life. Now every aspect of that life was transforming, expanding in ways both exhilarating and terrifying. The Hamptons fundraiser loomed as both an opportunity and a test. It would either confirm her place in this new world or reveal that she had ventured too far beyond her depth. Chapter 4: The Fundraiser. The Hayes estate in the Hamptons sprawled across 5 acres of meticulously landscaped grounds overlooking the Atlantic. Lily arrived 3 days before the fundraiser, overseeing a team of 8 assistants she had personally selected for the massive undertaking. The main ballroom, poolside terrace, entrance hall, and dining room all required distinct yet cohesive floral installations. "The hydrangeas go along the east wall following this gradient from deep blue to purple," Lily instructed 2 assistants, referencing her detailed sketches. "Make sure you mist them regularly in this heat." Miguel approached with a tablet displaying their timeline. "The specialty roses from Ecuador just arrived, and the local wildflowers are coming in 2 hours. We're right on schedule." Lily nodded, trying to project confidence despite her nerves. This was by far the largest event she had ever managed, with over 300 expected guests including celebrities, business leaders, and political figures. The pressure was immense, but she was determined to prove herself. As she worked on the centerpiece for the main ballroom, a suspended canopy of flowering branches and cascading orchids, Lily became aware of someone watching her. She turned to find a distinguished older woman observing her work with evident interest. "You must be Lily Morgan," the woman said, approaching with a warm smile. "I'm Eleanor Hayes, Alex's mother." Lily wiped her hands hastily on her apron before accepting Eleanor's extended hand. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Hayes. I hope the designs meet your expectations." "Call me Eleanor, please." The woman studied the partially completed installation. "And yes, they exceed my expectations. Alex told me you were exceptional, but I see he wasn't exaggerating." Eleanor's approachable manner put Lily at ease. Unlike Victoria's cool assessment, Eleanor's appreciation seemed genuine. "Would you join me for tea on the terrace?" Eleanor asked. "I'd love to hear about your design philosophy." Despite her busy schedule, Lily couldn't refuse. They settled at a small table overlooking the ocean, where a staff member promptly served them tea and small sandwiches. "Alex tells me you're self-taught," Eleanor said, stirring honey into her tea. "Mostly," Lily confirmed. "My grandmother had a wonderful garden in Vermont and taught me the basics of flower arranging. I read everything I could find and experimented constantly." Eleanor nodded thoughtfully. "The most valuable education often happens outside the classroom. My late husband, Alex's father, never finished college, but he built our first hotel through sheer determination and intuition." "Alex mentioned that his grandfather was a landscaper," Lily said. Yes, and my husband worked alongside him as a teenager, Eleanor confirmed. Those roots keep us grounded, I think. Alex has never forgotten where we came from, despite Victoria's occasional efforts to distance us from those beginnings. The conversation flowed easily, as Eleanor shared stories about the Hayes family history and the Foundation's work supporting arts education. Lily found herself deeply engaged, almost forgetting her extensive to-do list until Miguel appeared with an apologetic expression. "Sorry to interrupt, but we need decisions about the lighting for the East Terrace installation." Eleanor stood. "I've kept you too long, but I'm so glad we had this chance to talk, Lily. I hope we'll have more opportunities." As Lily returned to work, she felt a new dimension of understanding about Alex. Eleanor's down-to-earth warmth explained much about his unpretentious nature, despite his wealth. It also highlighted the contrast with Victoria, who seemed determined to maintain class distinctions that her mother readily dismissed. The next 2 days passed in a blur of activity. Lily worked from sunrise to well past midnight, perfecting each installation. By the evening of the fundraiser, everything was in place, a cohesive vision realized through thousands of blooms, each placement intentional, each color transition seamless. The event began at 7 p.m. Lily, dressed in a simple emerald gown borrowed from Zoe's actress friend, stood discreetly near the entrance, observing guests' reactions as they arrived. The expressions of wonder as they passed beneath the archway of native flowering vines and blue delphiniums validated every hour of exhausting preparation. You should be celebrating, not hiding in the corner. Lily turned to find Alex beside her, handsome in a tailored tuxedo. His eyes held admiration that sent a warmth through her that had nothing to do with professional pride. "I'm not hiding," she protested. "I'm observing. This is a learning experience for me." "Well, come observe from the center of things," he said, offering his arm. "Everyone's asking about the designer behind these extraordinary installations." Before she could decline, Alex was guiding her through the crowd, introducing her to guests who complimented her work enthusiastically. Museum directors, fashion designers, and cultural philanthropists engaged her in conversations about her artistic approach. Lily found herself speaking confidently about her vision, her nervousness fading as she discussed her passion for botanical art. Victoria appeared during one such conversation, her smile tightening when she saw Lily on Alex's arm. "Brother, Senator Jenkins is asking for you," she interrupted. "Something about the preservation project." "Of course," Alex said, turning to Lily. "Excuse me for a moment. Victoria, I believe you and Lily have met?" Left alone with Victoria, Lily maintained her composure. "The event seems to be going well," she offered. "Yes, the decorations have been quite well received," Victoria acknowledged with practiced politeness. "Though I'm surprised Alex has you mingling with guests. Usually service providers remain behind the scenes." The deliberate reminder of what Victoria perceived as Lily's proper place stung, but before she could respond, Eleanor joined them. "There you are, Lily," Eleanor said warmly. "Marjorie Winters from the Metropolitan Museum is absolutely insistent on speaking with you about their upcoming botanical exhibition. Victoria, dear, I believe Robert Caldwell was looking for you. Something about the Tokyo Hotel project." Victoria excused herself reluctantly, and Eleanor linked her arm through Lily's. "Don't let her intimidate you," she said quietly. Victoria has always been protective of what she considers the family position. It took her 3 years to accept my assistant as my friend, rather than just an employee. "I understand her concern," Lily admitted. "I'm not from this world." "Neither was I," Eleanor replied simply. "I was a receptionist at a small inn when I met Alex's father. The Hayes fortune was built later. Victoria sometimes forgets that part of our story." This revelation surprised Lily, who had assumed the Hayes wealth spanned generations. Before she could respond, they were joined by a distinguished woman who was indeed quite interested in discussing Lily's approach to botanical art. The evening continued in a whirl of conversations, dancing and champagne. Around midnight, Lily stepped onto a quiet balcony for a moment of solitude, overwhelmed by the energy of the event. She leaned against the stone railing, gazing at the moonlight reflecting on the ocean. Escaping your admirers? Alex's voice came from behind her. Lily turned with a smile. Just catching my breath, it's been quite an evening. Thanks to you, Alex said, joining her at the railing. Everyone is talking about the floral installations. 3 museum directors have asked for your contact information, and the governor's wife wants you for their anniversary celebration. It's surreal, Lily admitted. 6 months ago, I was selling flowers from a cart. You were always this talented, Alex said. You just needed the right showcase. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the waves break on the shore below. The night air carried the scent of salt and the distant fragrance of the garden roses Lily had used throughout the property. I've been thinking about your grandmother's house, Alex said finally. What if the foundation funded a renovation as part of our new rural preservation initiative? It wouldn't be charity. We're focusing on historic New England homes with cultural significance. Lily turned to him, suspicious. Is that actually a program, or are you creating one to help me without offending my pride? Alex's smile was slightly sheepish. The program exists. We're expanding it this year. Your grandmother's Victorian farmhouse would be a perfect candidate. I don't know, Alex, Lily said hesitantly. It feels like I'm overstepping, he finished for her. Maybe I am, but I care about you, Lily. More than I should, perhaps. The admission hung between them, honest and vulnerable. Lily felt her carefully maintained boundaries wavering. What does that mean exactly? She asked quietly. Alex turned to face her fully. It means I think about you constantly. It means these past months working with you have been the happiest I've had in years. It means I find myself inventing reasons to visit your workspace just to see you, to hear you talk about what you love. Lily's heart raced. The intensity of his gaze left no doubt about his sincerity, but doubts still clouded her mind. There are so many reasons why this is complicated, she whispered. Because of our different backgrounds? Because you work for my company? Alex asked. Those are circumstances, Lily, not insurmountable obstacles. Your sister clearly thinks otherwise, Lily pointed out. Victoria doesn't get to determine who matters in my life, Alex said firmly, then more gently. But I understand your hesitation. I'm not asking for decisions tonight. I just wanted you to know how I feel. Before Lily could respond, the balcony door opened and Miguel appeared, looking apologetic. Sorry to interrupt, Lily, but there's a situation with the centerpiece in the dining room. One of the supports has shifted. I should go, Lily said, reluctantly stepping away from Alex. We'll talk more later. Alex nodded, his eyes conveying what words had left unfinished. Go save the day. That's what you do best. For the remainder of the evening, Lily focused on her professional responsibilities, though her mind kept returning to the conversation on the balcony. By the time the last guests departed in the early morning hours, she was physically exhausted, but mentally alert, processing everything that had happened. As she supervised the beginning of the cleanup, Eleanor sought her out once more. Lily, dear, you must be exhausted. The guest cottage is prepared for you. Please get some rest. The cleanup can continue without you for a few hours. Grateful for the suggestion, Lily allowed herself to be escorted to a charming cottage at the edge of the property. Inside, she found a note on the small dining table, alongside a pot of chamomile tea and a slice of homemade apple cake. Your work tonight was beyond magnificent. We'll talk when you're rested, eh? Lily sank onto the cottage's comfortable sofa, finally allowing the events of the day to settle around her. The fundraiser had been an unqualified success professionally. She had multiple offers for high-profile projects, connections with cultural institutions, and validation of her artistic vision. But personally, she stood at a crossroads. Alex's declaration couldn't be ignored or dismissed. It demanded a response, one that would potentially change the trajectory of her life once again, just as finding that platinum card had done 6 months earlier. As dawn broke over the Atlantic, Lily finally drifted to sleep, her dreams filled with flowers and moonlight and choices waiting to be made. Chapter 5. Full Bloom. Autumn painted Central Park in russet and gold as Lily inspected the vacant storefront on Madison Avenue. Sunlight streamed through the large windows, illuminating the potential of the empty space. "It's perfect," she told the real estate agent. "Exactly what I've been looking for." The agent smiled, clearly pleased. "The location is unbeatable, 5 blocks from the Hayes Grand, foot traffic from the museum crowd, and the corner position offers excellent visibility." Lily nodded, already envisioning the layout. Display coolers along one wall, a design counter in the center, workshop space in the rear. After nearly 9 months of building her reputation through the Hayes Grand connection and the spectacular success of the Hamptons fundraiser, she was finally ready to open her own shop. "I'll need to discuss the financials with my business partner," she told the agent, "but I'm very interested." Minutes later, she was walking through the crisp autumn air toward the Hayes Grand, where Alex was waiting to hear about the space. Their relationship had evolved significantly since that night on the Hamptons balcony. After careful consideration and many honest conversations, they had agreed to explore their feelings while maintaining professional boundaries. Alex had stepped back from directly overseeing Lily's work at the hotel, and she had gradually built an independent clientele beyond the Hayes properties. Most significantly, they had developed a business partnership for Lily's shop. After lengthy discussions that sometimes became heated debates, they had reached an arrangement. Alex would provide initial investment capital as a silent partner, with clear terms for Lily to buy out his stake over 5 years. This structure preserved her independence while acknowledging the reality of Manhattan real estate costs. "It has the perfect northern exposure," Lily explained excitedly when she met Alex in the hotel's private dining room for lunch. "And enough space for the community workshops we discussed." Alex's smile was warm as he listened to her describe the location in detail. At 51, he carried his success with an ease that Lily had come to admire deeply. Their age difference had initially concerned her, but over time she recognized that their complementary life experiences created a balance between them. "It sounds ideal," he agreed. "When can we see it together?" "The agent can meet us tomorrow afternoon," Lily replied, "and I've already scheduled consultations with 3 contractors for the renovations." Their lunch was interrupted when Alex's assistant appeared with an apologetic expression. "Mr. Hayes, I'm sorry to disturb you, but there's an urgent call from Dr. Bennett." Alex's expression shifted almost imperceptibly, but Lily noticed immediately. Over these months, she had learned to read the subtle changes in his demeanor. Everything. "Okay?" she asked after the assistant departed. "Just a routine follow-up," Alex assured her, though his tone lacked conviction. Lily set down her fork. "Alex, we agreed to be honest with each other even when it's difficult." He sighed, running a hand through his silver-streaked hair. "You're right, I've been meaning to tell you. My heart condition has been giving me some trouble lately. Nothing critical, but Dr. Bennett is monitoring it more closely." Concern flashed across Lily's face. She had learned about Alex's congenital heart condition 3 months earlier, when she had found him taking medication during a particularly stressful week. Though he managed it well with treatment, the condition was serious enough to require regular medical supervision. "Define some trouble," she pressed. "Increased arrhythmia. Possibly a valve issue." Alex reached across the table to take her hand. "Dr. Bennett is the best cardiologist in New York. I'm in good hands." Lily squeezed his hand, knowing better than to press further in public. Alex was intensely private about his health. Not even Victoria knew the full extent of his condition. That he shared this information with Lily represented a profound trust that she never took for granted. "Promise me you'll follow the doctor's orders," she said quietly. "Always." "Do," he assured her. "Now tell me more about your plans for the workshop space." Later that afternoon, Lily was reviewing floor plans in her hotel workspace when Victoria appeared in the doorway. Unlike their early encounters, Victoria now acknowledged Lily with a cool civility that stopped short of warmth but lacked outright hostility. "Lily, do you have a moment?" Victoria asked, her voice carefully neutral. "Of course," Lily replied, indicating a chair. "What can I do for you?" Victoria remained standing. "I understand you're planning to open your own shop. Yes, the details are being finalized now, and my brother is investing in this venture. It wasn't a question, but Lily answered anyway. He's providing initial capital as a silent partner with a structured buyout plan. Victoria nodded, her expression unreadable. I see, and your personal relationship with Alex, that continues as well. The directness of the question was typical of Victoria, who had never entirely warmed to the idea of Lily in her brother's life. While Eleanor had embraced Lily with genuine affection, Victoria maintained a careful distance. Yes, Lily confirmed simply, refusing to be intimidated. Victoria sighed, momentarily dropping her perfect posture. Has he told you about his appointment with Dr. Bennett tomorrow? Lily tensed. He mentioned a routine follow-up. It's not routine, Victoria said flatly. There's a new treatment protocol being discussed, potentially surgery. The revelation hit Lily like a physical blow. Alex had significantly downplayed the situation. Why are you telling me this? She asked carefully. Victoria studied her for a long moment. Because my brother is stubborn to a fault. He won't worry the people he cares about, even when he should. She paused. And because, despite my initial reservations about you, I've observed how you've handled yourself these past months. You've never used your relationship with Alex for personal gain or public attention. Your discretion has been notable. Coming from Victoria, this was high praise indeed. Thank you for telling me, Lily said sincerely. Victoria nodded once. Alex is all I have left besides mother. I don't always agree with his choices, but I respect his right to make them. With that, she turned to leave, then hesitated. The Madison Avenue location is a good choice. The previous tenant maintained an excellent relationship with the building management. After Victoria departed, Lily sat quietly, processing this new information. Alex's health concerns were more serious than he had admitted, which explained his recent insistence on finalizing certain business matters and the subtle urgency in some of their conversations. That evening, they had planned to attend a symphony performance, but Lily suggested a quiet dinner at her apartment instead. She had moved from her tiny Brooklyn studio to a modest but comfortable one-bedroom in Chelsea, within walking distance of the Hayes Grand. As they shared a simple meal that Lily had prepared, she finally broached the subject. Victoria told me about tomorrow's appointment, she said directly. The real one, not the version you shared at lunch. Alex's expression tightened momentarily before he sighed in resignation. I was going to tell you after we had more information. I didn't want to worry you unnecessarily. That's not how partnership works, Lily countered gently. You don't get to decide what I should or shouldn't worry about. We face things together, the good and the difficult. The conversation that followed was one of their most honest yet. Alex shared the details of his condition, the new treatment, options being considered, and his concerns about how health issues might impact their future together. Lily listened, asked questions, and finally took his hands in hers. Whatever comes next, we'll handle it, she said firmly. I didn't fall for Alexander Hayes, hotel magnate with a perfect life. I fell for Alex, who has strengths and vulnerabilities just like everyone else. The next morning, Lily accompanied Alex to his appointment with Dr. Bennett. The news was mixed. His condition had indeed progressed, but there were promising new treatment protocols. Surgery remained a possibility, but not an immediate necessity. With medication adjustments and some lifestyle changes, they had reason for cautious optimism. 2 weeks later, Lily signed the lease for her Madison Avenue shop. The renovation began immediately, with a target opening date just before the Christmas season. As contractors transformed the space, Lily divided her time between designing for her existing clients, planning her business launch, and supporting Alex through his new treatment regimen. The Hayes Grand remained her most prestigious client, but she had developed relationships with 3 museums, several corporate accounts, and a growing list of private clients who sought her distinctive designs for special events. Her days were busier than ever, yet filled with a purpose and satisfaction that her park cart days had never provided. One crisp November afternoon, Lily's grandmother arrived from Vermont to see the shop's progress. Elegant at 75, Rose Morgan had the same quiet strength and artistic sensibility that she had passed to her granddaughter. The Hayes Foundation's Rural Preservation Program had fully restored her Victorian farmhouse earlier that year, a project overseen personally by Eleanor Hayes, who had discovered they shared a passion for historical architecture. "It's even more beautiful than the photos," Rose said, turning slowly in the half-finished space. "Your parents would be so proud, Lily." The mention of her parents brought the familiar bittersweet ache that Lily had carried since losing them at 8 years old. "I hope so," she said softly. Rose opened her large handbag and removed a carefully wrapped package. "I brought something I thought might be meaningful for your new beginning." Inside was a weathered leather-bound album that Lily immediately recognized from her childhood. "Grandma's garden journal," she said, running her fingers over the embossed cover. "Open it," Rose encouraged. Lily carefully turned the pages, finding her grandmother's meticulous records of plantings, sketches of garden layouts, and pressed flower specimens. Near the back, she discovered something unexpected: photographs she had never seen before. They showed a much younger Rose tending elaborate gardens at a grand estate. "Where was this?" Lily asked, studying the images. "The Hayes estate in Connecticut," Rose answered quietly. "I worked there as head gardener for 3 summers in the 1970s, before your mother was born." Lily looked up in shock. "You worked for Alex's family? You never told me." Rose smiled gently. "I didn't make the connection until Eleanor showed me photographs during the renovation. That's when I realized her husband was the young man whose family had employed me all those years ago." "Did you tell Alex?" "No, I thought perhaps you should." Rose turned the page to reveal a photograph of elegant formal gardens with a distinctive fountain. "This design? Do you recognize it?" Lily gasped softly. The garden layout in the photograph was remarkably similar to the design she had created for the Hamptons fundraiser, a pattern of concentric circles with pathways radiating outward like sunbeams. "I didn't remember consciously," Lily whispered, "but you used to show me this album when I was little. The design must have stayed with me." "Life has curious ways of circling back," Rose observed. "Sometimes the paths we think are completely new have actually been waiting for us all along." The day before the shop's grand opening, Lily worked late into the evening, perfecting every detail. The space had been transformed into an exquisite botanical gallery with custom display cases, a consultation area with comfortable seating, and a workshop space equipped for the community classes she planned to offer disadvantaged youth from her old neighborhood. As she adjusted the final arrangement, a dramatic installation of winter branches and paperwhites in the front window, the door opened despite the "Coming Tomorrow" sign. Alex entered, carrying a small wrapped package. "I know you're probably exhausted," he said, "but I wanted to give you this before tomorrow's chaos." Inside the package was an antique silver picture frame. It held a photograph of Battery Park in early spring, focusing on a small flower cart with a young woman arranging tulips. Lily recognized herself immediately. It was from the day she had found the platinum card. "How did you get this?" she asked, touched by the thoughtfulness of the gift. "I had a security consultant who owed me a favor access the park's surveillance footage," Alex admitted with a smile. "I wanted to remember exactly how you looked that day, the moment that changed everything." Lily placed the frame on the counter that would serve as her design station, a reminder of where her journey had begun. "I have something to show you too," she said, leading him to a small office behind the main shop area. There, on the wall, hung a framed photograph from her grandmother's album, Rose Morgan working in the Hayes estate gardens 50 years earlier. Alex studied the image with amazement as Lily explained the connection they had discovered. "So you were destined to design with flowers for my family," he said with wonder. "It seems we were connected long before that credit card." Lily smiled. Maybe some paths really are meant to intersect. They stood together in the quiet shop, surrounded by the culmination of Lily's dreams and the promise of their shared future. From a simple flower cart to this elegant Madison Avenue boutique, from a chance encounter to a deep and abiding connection, the journey had been neither simple nor straightforward, but its destination felt undeniably right. The next morning, as Lily prepared to open her shop doors for the first time, she placed a small arrangement of tulips beside the cash register, a humble reminder of her beginnings. When the first customers entered, they found not only exquisite floral designs, but also the warm presence of a woman who had discovered that sometimes the most meaningful transformations begin with the simplest acts of integrity. And in her desk drawer, preserved carefully in a small velvet box, lay a platinum credit card that had expired months ago but would never be discarded, the unexpected catalyst that had set in motion a year of remarkable change, bringing her to this moment of full bloom.